when I was reading it, I really felt like the Russian characters were Russian, and
Oh, thank you.
you know, the characters from Pakistan and India, where they felt distinct. They didn't feel like joke delivery systems. Like when a lot of our comedic stuff, we don't really have characters. We have like constructs that are really just joke delivery systems. And what you did was so amazing.
Oh,
and
thank you very much.
The world, it's pretty cool. Sound okay?
Sounds okay.
Okay. So shall we hit record and start?
I already started.
All right, you already started. All right.
We're going. Now, I need, all right, before you ask about me, I need to ask you, what did you farm? What did you grow?
Almonds, grapes, wheat, and cotton.
Oh, really? Cotton, okay.
So we had 2,000 acres. And our raisins, our grapes weren't for raisins, they were for juice concentrate.
Okay.
So we never got into the raisin business. We were mostly cotton and wheat for the longest time.
What
And
kind of cotton did you grow?
Pima, there was a lot of different varieties, but I was really the pesticide and herbicide guy. So
Okay.
I was working with Rely and Roundup and Gramoxone and stuff that kills plants in like 12 hours or
So the-
24 hours.
the herbicides, not
yeah, yeah. And Temic, when you use pesticides for the cotton, you.
Oh, really?
yeah,
Okay, because
there's-
I grow a little bit of cotton. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no, cotton is great. Cotton is great for a couple of reasons. It's great as a fire starter when you're camping, because you just throw a few sparks on a sort of an open cotton ball,
Yeah.
and it just goes. So
You throw a little water on a compacted
Yeah.
bale and it goes.
Cotton's amazing. Cotton is also a wonderful wad for black powder muskets. So I own several of those from pre-Revolutionary War flintlocks to Civil War. And so I find that's a great one. You put your black powder, and instead of having to put a shotgun wad down there, you just put a little ball of cotton down there, and then you're shot, then another ball of cotton, and it's great.
And I bet that was kind of a trick that people knew back
Yeah.
in the days too. That was probably more common knowledge that has just been lost over time. And I really wanted to know, how did you feel? You and Robert Kirkman are kind of like, what you guys did for zombies is like what Steven Spielberg and Michael Crichton did for dinosaurs. When I was, a kid, that movie, Jurassic Park, was like a big deal. And then you read the books, and how do you feel about that? Because that must feel like an amazing feeling, an amazing sense of like, I did this. And
Well, I try not to get into that world,
Yeah.
because once you walk through that door, and you become that self-aware, then it starts to affect your work.
yeah,
And I try to sort of stick to what got me into writing in the first place, because I can't predict what people like and what people don't like. I really can't. I'm no good at it. If I was any good at it, they wouldn't have fired me off Saturday Night Live. I know what I like, and that's why I started writing zombie books, because I wanted to write about zombies, how you would survive a zombie attack. Nobody was writing it, and I was just answering my own questions. If someone had written it, I would have gone out and bought it. And the reason I wrote World War Z was because I just didn't want to write another zombie adventure, because as far as I'm concerned, everyone had done that. Why do a rehash of George Romero's Dawn of the Dead? I can just go watch that. So answering my own questions has always been my compass needle. And if I start to get away from that and get into the headspace of like, look what I've done, the other edge of that sword is, oh my God, what am I going to do next? And what are they expecting from me?
a lot.
Yeah, and I have to write for them. And then once you start thinking that way and writing for them, you're dead. At least I am.
Right.
I mean, some people are very good at that. Some people are very good at thinking, all right, I know what my audience wants. I can give them what they want. And good for them. But I can't go there, because that's the end of the road.
Well, I think it's just an amazing accomplishment. We've had students on campus talking about you coming here, and they will debate zombies, and one of them they'll say like, well, I'm a strict Romero Brooksian. And
Oh, wow.
I just found that to be very fascinating, that like, that's such an amazing thing to it's a lot of responsibility, and I think it's just a really cool thing that you've done. You by answering your own questions, you've kind of written in stone these rule sets, like zombies don't run, and rage virus versus
that makes sense.
zombie, and it's been a lot of fun exploring that world with other students and talking about that, and The characters you've created in that world are really, really amazing.
Well, I just, because my first book was for me and I never expected it to be published, I didn't try to upload it with things that I thought would be exciting and cool. I mean, in fact, that's why I wrote the first book in the first place, was growing up in Hollywood, you get a sense of when drama is added to a story to make it appealing to an audience. You read the book Wise Guy, which then becomes Goodfellas, and there's a lot of changes because it's a movie and it needs to appeal to an audience.
Yeah.
And so for me, I try to keep everything, once again, grounded in reality to answer my own questions. It's not exciting and cool when you think about purifying water. But the truth is, if there was a real zombie plague, a lot more people would be dead of dehydration than of zombie bites.
Yeah.
And I try to get away from sort of alpha male heroes because that's not how wars are won. We in World War II, we love stories about like Audie Murphy and these guys, but they didn't win World War II single-handedly. We all did, or that generation all did. So for me, World War Z was all about the world coming together and everybody making a contribution.
Right. And it's done in such a insightful way. Like I said, I'm Jewish, so I've been to Israel. When I'm reading the parts about Israel and Palestinians coming together, it's such a hopeful vision of the future too, but it's set in such a dark world, which to me makes it seem so, it's thoughtful, it's thought-provoking, and you really flushed it out to such an extent that I have Arab friends, they don't like dogs, and you understood that in the book, when you were writing it, and that takes insight into the culture, and it's just such an amazing book.
Well, thank you.
I've read it multiple times.
Like I said, I try to ground everything in reality and also history. World War Z, every story in World War Z is based in something that has actually happened. I'm a history nerd before I'm a zombie nerd. And so that was sort of my defense of every premise that I set forth in World War Z. When somebody says to me, well, that would never happen, I say, well, it already has. For use Israel and Palestine, people say, well, that would never happen. Like, they're enemies, and like they could never be friends and stuff. And I say, well, actually, external threats have always bound traditional enemies together. I mean, if you had stood on the field of Waterloo in 1812 and said, guys, in about 100 years, you two are going to be the best of friends. English and French, I know you've been fighting for like 1,000 years. Trust me, you're going to stand shoulder to shoulder against the Germans. They would have said, all right, that's crazy. That's ridiculous. And by the way, was Waterloo 1812?
I'm not as big of a history.
Wait a minute. Somebody give me the date of Waterloo.
Who's got a smartphone that's
Because I suck at dates.
Siri, when was Waterloo?
Let me think about that.
Oh, come on, Siri. Don't think about it. Just give us the date of Waterloo.
The answer is June 18, 1815.
1815, I'm sorry. It wasn't 1812. So 1815, 100 years before, 199 years before World War I. So the truth is, you can have the deadliest of enemies will come together if they have to come together.
with thousands of years of hatred and animosity.
Right. Can all be washed away, literally, just because it has to happen. So it's not hopeful in a Pollyannish way. It's not sort of like, ooh, wouldn't it be nice if we were all friends? It's more like, yeah, that's the historical narrative.
Such an amazing amount of detail and thought that would have to go into creating something that you've created. So
a lot of homework. A lot of homework, a lot of research. I like to say for every fake interview I did in World War Z, I would do a real interview. I try to talk to real people who've either studied this or actually lived this life. Real doctors, real soldiers. I wanted to be like one of my heroes was Tom Clancy, who he educated as well as entertained. And I thought that would be really cool because being a dyslexic kid who never read for fun, when I started reading, I read Clancy. And so to put down a book and feel smarter when you walk away, I thought, wow, that's really cool.
So we were, Keisha and I were talking about this before you came, and you picked such a you know, you said it was something that interested you, zombies. You picked such a kind of niche item at that time
Oh, at
to
the
write
time,
about.
good Lord, yeah.
Could you do that again? Could we do World War M for Mermaid?
Well, the thing is, I didn't choose it because it was niche. I mean, I didn't.
You chose it because it interests you.
Yeah, I choose what interests me, not because it's popular or unpopular. Like I said, you couldn't find anyone who is worse at gauging what is popular. You know, I have no idea. I mean, if you had said to me 10 years ago, what are people going to dress like? I'm like, well, let me tell you, the one thing they won't do is have these curly John Wilkes Booth mustaches. Who would do that?
Right.
Now, I don't know. I have no idea. So all I can go with is what I am into. And that's the whole point that I wrote Zombie Survival Guide, because I couldn't find the book. I didn't start from the premise of a writer. I started from the premise of a reader.
Right. Rather than, okay, so instead of starting with the destination's completion already in mind, you say, all right, this is what I'm interested in, follow this map. When you get there, if you're really interested in it and passionate about it, it's going to show.
And that's the thing is, you know, the stuff that I read, maybe it's not as technically good as other writers, but you can feel the passion of an author. You always, you know, when you read something, you can feel when an author really, really wants to do something, as opposed to an author who is either cashing in or doesn't know what else to do. It doesn't matter. I mean, for me, the passion behind it. That's why sometimes when I read self-published works, yeah, maybe it's not as polished as the classics, but boy, you can just, you feel the love the author has when he or she sits down and just dives in.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a real honor to get to talk to you and to record this Speakers Forum interview. Thank you so much for coming today.
Well, wait, before we're done, wait, hold on here. First of all, Jewish farmer?
Yeah.
Okay. We got to dig into this. You are a man of the land. Mm-hmm. You hear that, Mel Gibson? So...
I exist. I'm on this one. I exist. I'm a Jewish farmer and I exist.
Jew farmer.
It's a real thing.
Wow.
Manishtana, Halila Haza.
See?
Yeah.
Excellent.
How is this interview different than all others?
That's really cool.
There's a Jewish farmer.
I got to talk to one of my people who works in the dirt. Yes.
But who's now going into multimedia?
Well, now he's going into multimedia. But
so I guess throwing away everything that made me unique.
But his roots are literal roots. So there we go. Oh, and by the way, Battle of Waterloo, 1815. Look that up.
Thank you so much.